Okay, man. What do you want? Why'd you call us here?
Oh, nothing. No particular reason. I just want to get y'all together because I haven't had y'all together in a while, so I just wanted to. I just wanted to just bring y'all together.
What are you laughing at?
No reason. I'm not laughing for any particular reason. You know what I mean? I just wanted to bring about this reunion in the proper way. So yeah, he's almost here. He sure is.
Reunion? Who is he you talking about? Wait a minute.
Look behind you. Let's start review. What is going on, people? LP2000, I'm back at you with another video. Yes, welcome back once again to Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews on behalf of Summit Kaiju. And today I'm looking at the X-Plus 30cm Godzilla 1975 from the classic iconic film that closed out the Showa Godzilla film series, Terror of Mechagodzilla. And as you can see, I have the figure here as well as the box. Yes, such an awesome figure. Yes, it is. It's a most welcome addition to the X-Plus 30cm Godzilla roster, you know what I mean? Yes, so many things to cover in this video. Let's just get right to it. You know how we do things around here? Let's get into the box before we get into the figures. So let's put Godzilla down here. And yes, woo! It's nice that we're getting back to these boxes, you know what I mean? Not mostly, sometimes we get the boxes with the artwork that has the silhouette, the black silhouette of the figure, sometimes, whatever. But it's nice that we're going back to this artwork as far as the 30s, you know what I mean? Yes, picture of Godzilla here, his face, X-Plus Garage Toy. Godzilla 1975, the Japanese title of his name here, obviously. Yes, I really do like the box. The only thing I really don't really too care for is maybe the green in his name, but that's just nitpicky, you know what I mean? But still, it's a welcome addition, nice box. I love it. I really do. I'm not going to trash it. Legal jargon on the back, and that's pretty much it. Yes, so let's put it down and bring him up. Oh yes, Godzilla 1975. Woo, so much to cover, because this is a monumental release, you know what I mean? It really is a monumental release for the fact that this is the first 30cm Godzilla from the 1970s. And I just wish the 1970s would get a lot more love when it comes to Godzilla figures, you know what I mean? We don't have a 74, we don't have a 72, we don't have basically any other Godzilla designs from the 70s and the 30s, except for this one. So hopefully X-Plus will rectify that and give us those Godzilla designs in 30s, because I know I love the 70s. Everybody knows that my favorite film is Mothra vs. Godzilla that came out in 1964, but I would have to say my favorite era of films are the 1970s. Yes, I know they're plagued with a lot of problems, a lot of issues, over-reliance of stock footage, but whatever. But still, I love the 70s films. I have a great time with them. They're highly fun, explosive, dynamic films, and I just love them so much. So yes, I would say the 70s films are my favorite era of Godzilla films, you know what I mean? So the backstory about this figure is the fact that this figure was came up for pre-order in the middle of the summer, around June, and it just got released in September. This is the standard. I don't have the rip board. The rip board came with a severed Mechagodzilla 75 head. Basically, what they did was recycled the same rip board options that came with the 25 centimeter Godzilla 1975. Yes, it's very creative. But at least it's better than having like another light up, God forbid. You know what I mean? So they just recycled that same rip board feature for the 30. You know what I mean? Like I said, the pre-order came up in June. It dropped in September, and this figure completes the lineup from both lines, 25 and 30 of this film. You know, this film is finally complete. You know, and X-Plus has been in complete mode this year anyway, you know, with the release of this, which completes this movie. They released a 25 centimeter final form of Hedra to coincide with the 25 centimeter Godzilla 1971, you know, so now they're perfect for each other. The upcoming GMK set with Baragon and Mothra, those are the last two monsters remaining that's yet to be made from X-Plus. They're finally getting made, which completes that movie. They brought out Mechagodzilla 1993 from the Heisei era, the last incarnation of Mechagodzilla to be made. They finally got that to us, you know, whatever. The 25 centimeter Gabra, arguably the last villain or major villain from the Showa era that has not been produced by X-Plus, you know what I mean? So yes, X-Plus has been in complete mode, and I really do enjoy that, you know, and I really do enjoy this release. And I enjoy a heck of a lot better than 25. The 25 centimeter Godzilla 1975 had so many issues, you know what I mean? I mean, it's a good figure, you know, it is, but this is a vast improvement. It's not perfect, which I will cover later on, but still, it's a major and vast improvement over the 25. The 25, the dorsal plates, they look good, but the color scheme on the dorsal plates were kind of sketchy. It wasn't really accurate. And the face of the other 25 centimeter 75 was just, it looked okay, but once again, it could have been a whole lot better. Like the 25 centimeter Burning Godzilla or the 25 centimeter Godzilla 1962. In my opinion, those figures are just deplorable. They could have done a whole lot better, you know. But as we've seen the release of this, and might as well mention the 30 centimeter Burning Godzilla that came out earlier this year. These 30 centimeter counterparts are vast improvements over their 25 centimeter counterparts. You know, so that's good on X-Plus's part, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's pretty much it with the backstory, you know, and yes, it's finally here. It's finally here, and once again, I hope this opens the door for more 70 Godzilla figures to be made by X-Plus. X-Plus, if you're watching, please, we would love more 70s Godzilla incarnations. 74, 71, 72, especially 73, you know. I know a lot of people give that film or that design a lot of heat, but still, we love the 70s films, right? Yes, we do. All right, so let's get up close and personal with this figure. The X-Plus 30 centimeter Godzilla 1975 figure from Terror of Mechagodzilla. All right, let's go. Okay, folks, here we are up close and personal with the 30 centimeter Godzilla 1975. Yes, this is an awesome piece. You know, there's not much really to go into as far as like detail or whatever, because the detail is there, you know. Typical Godzilla presentation as far as X-Plus, you know, dark charcoal gray on the skin, tree bark skin, you know, whatever. Yes, this thing is really, really awesome. Dorsal plates are popping, have a nice silver sheen on them, which is, like I said, a vast improvement over the 25. Because the 25 had like a bone color type of off-white color scheme on the dorsal plates. Not really suit accurate or screen accurate because they were more silver like this. So it's good that the X-Plus got that right, you know. Yes, looks really, really, really awesome. The pose, yes, typical Godzilla pose, at least as far as this version of a Godzilla. He's in fighting pose, you know, he's ready to throw down. He's ready to throw Titanosaurus, you know, across 2 football fields. He's ready to decapitate Mechagodzilla. Yes, he really is awesome. Now, like I mentioned before, this figure is not perfect. It's a vast improvement over the 25, but by all means, it's not perfect. And what I mean by that is like there's 2 issues, at least 2 issues that I have with this figure. Excuse me. 2 issues, but they're not that don't take away from my overall enjoyment of the figure. You know what I mean? Now, my first issue with this figure is the fact that there is oversaturation on the gums. You know what I mean? There's like too much color in his gums. Let me see if I can try and get it closer here. Yeah, there you go. You see all that? There's too much coloration in his gums. The 75 Godzilla didn't have that much color on his gums. Now, the 68 Godzilla did, you know, from Destroy All Monsters. That version of Godzilla had oversaturation of color in his gums. But the 75 didn't. As a matter of fact, the only time you really saw his mouth, really saw some color of red in his mouth, was his tongue. But his lower jaws or his jaws didn't have like an oversaturation of color. You know, so that's one issue. The other issue I have with this figure is, which you'll probably see, you would definitely see in size comparisons when I bring up Titanosaurus and Mechagodzilla, is that this figure is too tall to be in scale with the Titanosaurus and Mechagodzilla. Now, he looks good. He looks good alongside both of them, which you'll see. But that's my issue with it, is the fact that this figure is just too tall. But it's kind of like a catch-22. That I love big figures, so get me wrong. But this figure, for it to be suit accurate or size accurate, it's just too big to be accurate as far as like screen purposes, or at least screen accuracy is concerned. You know what I mean? But you'll see that in size comparisons in a few seconds. But other than that, this is really, really awesome. You know, even the hands. I heard issues with people with the hands, that maybe the hands were too small. I don't think so. I think they look really good. Now, mind you, Godzilla never really did have big hands to begin with. You know, it's not like he's Gorgo. You know, anything like that, or the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla. You know what I mean? Godzilla always had somewhat small hands, so the hands don't really bother me. Now his arms will like get bigger or get longer as time went on, because you know, the more Godzilla fought these outlandish monsters, the more that he would need his arms to pick them up, body slam them, throw them, you know, all these different things, and he couldn't do it if he had arms like Shin Godzilla. You know what I mean? So the hands don't bother me. I think they look good. I think they look perfect for what this Godzilla was supposed to do. And another issue I heard people talk about when it comes to this figure is the fact that his toenails, as well as his claws, may be too dark. Now, mind you, my argument with that is, I understand that argument. I really do. But I look at it like this. Maybe you can look at this Godzilla as he appeared when he first appeared in the film. You know, at night. You know, when he confronts Titanosaurus in Tokyo. You know, and maybe had to have a dark shade of gray on the toes to resemble that scene. Or later on when Godzilla, you know, combats both Titanosaurus and Mechagodzilla, and he gets thrown around in the dirt, gets kicked twice by Titanosaurus, and gets buried alive. Maybe you can account for the dark toenails be the fact that he got dirty, you know. So that doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. You know, overall, this is a solid release. When I got it out of the box, I didn't expect it for it to be this good. It really is good. They're still on hobby search from what I understand, you know, so if you really want one, whereas Ripboard standard, you can't go wrong with it, you know what I mean? I opted for the standard because, you know, I had the Mechagodzilla 75 and I had the Rick, and the Rick for that figure came with the alternate brain where you can take off the Mechagodzilla head or whatever. So I didn't need two separate Mechagodzilla heads, which is why I wanted to get the standard. You know, nothing against the Rick. If you got the Rick, hey, you got some good stuff right there. But other than that, that's why I went standard. But yes, this really, really is nice. Aside from the fact that it's kind of too tall for my taste to be suit accurate or screen accurate. And that's pretty much it. You know, I mean, I have really no major issues with this. I don't regret the fact that I got it. I love it. You know, it just speaks that version of Godzilla from the 70s. And, you know, it's just awesome. And I hope, like I said, that X-Plus will get around to getting the rest of the 70s Godzilla to us. You know, because like I mentioned, I think the 70s films are highly underrated. I think of course, they have a lot of cheese in them. You know, Godzilla is a superhero virtually in every one of those films. I know that kind of rubs people the wrong way a little bit. I can understand that. But I just have a highly fun time with the 70s films. From Smog Monster, Gigan, Megalon, both Mechagodzilla films. I just have a highly fun time. Despite the fact my favorite film is Mothra vs. Godzilla, like I said, I have a great time with the 70s. So I hope the X-Plus does get around to getting the rest of those 70s Godzillas to us, Godzilla designs to us in the 30. Because we only got, what? We got a 7125, a 7325, and we got a 7525. But we have no 74. no 3073, no 3072, no 3071. Hopefully, with this guy being here, being blessed upon us, this will open the door for more 70 Godzillas to come. All right, so that's pretty much it with the detailed paint job. It looks great sculpt-wise. It looks really, really awesome. I can't brag about this figure enough. If you want to get one, please get your hands on it. You will not be disappointed, especially if you love 70s Godzilla films, at least this version of Godzilla. Or if you especially love Mechagodzilla, this is the figure for you. And if you already have Titanosaurus and Mechagodzilla, you will be in hog heaven when you get this figure in your hand. All right, so let's go with the first size comparison, and I'll talk about a certain issue that's been going around as relates to this figure and another incarnation of the Godzilla 1975 that I want to address. All right, so let's go with the first size comparison. Okay, folks, here's the first size comparison with the rest of the monster lineup from Mechagodzilla. Of course, to the left of Godzilla, I have the 30cm Rick Boy Mechagodzilla 1975, and to the right, I have the 30cm standard Titanosaurus. Yes, they look great together. They look perfect together to a point. Like I mentioned before, I have an issue with this, but like I said, it's kind of like a non-issue, but it's something that I want to address. You know what I mean? And it's the fact that Godzilla is the same height as Mechagodzilla. You know what I mean? Like, he can look at Godzilla, at least Godzilla and Mechagodzilla can look at each other eye to eye. I'm sorry, that was not how it was in the film. Now, especially Titanosaurus. Titanosaurus between the three was the tallest of the three, but as you can see, he can look at Titanosaurus eye to eye also. And once again, that wasn't accurate to the film. Godzilla was just a tad bit shorter. You know what I mean? It was a tad bit shorter than Mechagodzilla. And Godzilla's head, for it to be accurate, he would need to come up to like right here. You know what I mean? Now, and for Mechagodzilla, he would probably, his head would probably, the top of his head would probably need to be right here. But Godzilla is the same height as virtually both of these guys. And if you're OCD, I can see that can be an issue for you. But still, on the surface, look-wise, these three look great together. But if you're looking for suit accuracy or size accuracy, I'm sorry, it's just not there. The 75 is just too big. Godzilla, I mean. So, if that's an issue for you, really, it shouldn't really be an issue. You know what I mean? But I still want to point that out. You know what I mean? Because when I first got it, I was like, whoa, the detail is there. And it looks awesome, you know, from A to Z. You know, it looks great. Aside from, like I said, the saturation of the gums and maybe the toenail and claw color may be an issue. But once I put this guy along the same side as Mechagodzilla and Titanosaurus, I was like, whoa. You know? And which goes to show that X-Plus is a great company, but sometimes they don't get everything right. Like the 84 30cm Godzilla. How was that thing even shorter than the 54 when in film continuity, the 84 was much bigger, you know, than the 54. The 84 was much bigger than the 54, you know? But other than that, it looks great. These look great together, but if you're looking for size accuracy, I'm sorry, it's just not there with the 75. But they do look great together, you know? They do look great. It's just that he's just too big. It's just too big to be accurate, you know? And I mentioned about the a certain issue involving a certain other incarnation of Godzilla 1975. I might as well just include it in this segment here. And it's the Billiken. Now, if you're unaware, Billiken is a model kit company, right? They make model kits of kaijus, you know, whatever. Now, they're not like Monster Maker 28 or TES Facto or whatever, resin pieces or whatever. They're vinyl pieces. And they mostly are there for people that are just beginning to get into model kit building. You know, they're more so for novice. Now, the sculpts are great, but, you know, and the vinyl is great, but it's not really too complicated. You know what I mean? So they're more so for beginners trying to get into model kit building and painting. Well, they made a Godzilla 1975. And matter of fact, I'll bring it up right now. Let me just push Mechagodzilla to the back here and bring up the 75 Billiken to compare with the 75 X-Plus. And there it is right there. Let's push Titanosaurus to the back. There you go. Now, as you can see, the 75 Billiken is much shorter, a little bit shorter than Godzilla 1975. Now, I understand the issues that the Billiken has. Mind you, the Billiken's not perfect either. But in my opinion, if you go going for suit accuracy or sculpt wise, I think this Billiken is a tad bit better than the X-Plus. That's just my opinion. You know what I mean? And the Billiken looks good with the Titanosaurus and Mechagodzilla. Let me just bring this X-Plus down and see what I'm talking about here. There you go. There you go. Now, let's see. Bring them close together. There you go. Now, that is in a way how it was in the film. The Billiken is more size accurate to the X-Plus than the actual X-Plus is. You know? And before my X-Plus 75 arrived, this is how I would display my Mechagodzilla setup. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, size-wise in the film, Godzilla's head will come up to Titanosaurus' neck right here, and Godzilla will be just a tad bit shorter than Mechagodzilla as he is right here. So size-wise, suit-wise, and whatever, the Billiken is actually in scale, you know? And the Billiken is a little bit superior than the X-Plus in certain respects. Now, if you were to ask me what do I prefer, it's a toss-up, honestly. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to sell the X-Plus short. I'm not trying to sell the Billiken short. They are both good representations of the Godzilla 1975. But in my opinion, I think the Billiken is just a tad bit better than the X-Plus. And this is not the first time that it's happened as far as I'm concerned. Like the 1966 X-Plus. You know, the 25 centimeter, it looks good. But Billiken made a 65 Godzilla of that same incarnation. Not the same sculpt, but it's the same suit in a way. And the Billiken outshines the 66, in my opinion. You know what I mean? There's a 1992 Billiken. And to me, that one is more suit accurate to the suit than the 1992 X-Plus version. You know, it doesn't mean that X-Plus makes mediocre products. They don't. But there are times where even they fall short a little bit. And sometimes model kits or certain model kit incarnations make up for that. And I think in this case, the 75 Billiken is just a little bit better. Just a little bit, you know? Especially size-wise or whatever. Now, suit-wise, suit accuracy, once again, I think the Billiken is just a little bit more suit accurate to the suit of the 75, in my opinion. I think so. I think the head is better on the X-Plus version, the shape of the head. In certain angles of the Billiken, the head doesn't look that good. But yeah. But now, as you can see, both Billiken and the X-Plus, they do look great together. But I mean, either way, if you have either one or both of these 75s, you know, it's all good. You know, it's just, in my opinion, I think the Billiken is just a little bit better. But still, the 75 X-Plus complements Titanosaurus and Mechagodzilla very, 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 very well. And when you have these three on the shelf, it makes for the perfect combination of one of the best Godzilla films ever. And arguably, probably the best Godzilla film of the 1970s. Depends on who you talk to. So yeah, that's pretty much it with my size comparison with the Billiken as well as Mechagodzilla 1975 and Titanosaurus. Yes, get this figure. I love it. I really do love it. So, let's wrap this review up and let's talk about Terror of Mechagodzilla. Alright, let's go. Okay folks, I'm back and let's talk about Terror of Mechagodzilla. And yes, I've covered this film a couple times in a couple other past X-Plus figure reviews. Hint, hint, hint. Check them out. They're in the archives of the channel. And in those videos, I have covered how I love how Titanosaurus was the breakout star of that film. You know what I mean? I also cover how, even though I love the look of 75, it's my favorite look of Mechagodzilla, I was somewhat disappointed in his performance. You know, I kind of liked the performance better of the 74. I touched on a lot of different things as it relates to this movie in conjunction with my X-Plus figure reviews. But I haven't talked much about Godzilla, you know? Let's talk about him, because finally we got this figure of him. So let's talk about him as it relates to this movie. And really, there's not much really to talk about. You know, he's just there for one purpose and one purpose only. He's there to come in, kick butt, and then go back. That's pretty much it, you know what I mean? I know a lot of folks, you know, don't really like this film, and it's still baffling to me how this film is the lowest grossing Godzilla film ever. Yes, Final Wars is made more money than this. Godzilla's Revenge made more money than this. Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla made more money than this. And that is baffling to me because between those films versus this one, I actually prefer this film. I think this film is a whole lot better. But I think around the time, I think a lot of folks were going through Godzilla fatigue. If that makes sense. There were a lot of Japanese superhero Sentai shows that featured this kind of light action. So there was no need to go to the movie theaters to see this, when you can watch similar action at home for free. That kind of like played into it, And unbeknownst to everybody, people at the time, this was the last Godzilla film from the Showa period. As far as Godzilla's concerned, like I said, he just has one role: just come in, kick butt, and leave. And this Godzilla film features probably one of my best, or at least my favorite Godzilla entrances. When he comes in, Titanosaurus is attacking Tokyo, whatever. He swats down some planes from the military. Or at least I don't know what he did. What did he do? He jumped up and put his chest out and had the planes collide and just exploded on his chest. And then they cut away to the rest of the city where it's kind of like dark and whatever. And we see a black silhouette, a dinosaur-shaped silhouette, rise up from behind one of the buildings. And then all of a sudden they cut back to Titanosaurus, and a familiar blue ray shoots at him from afar and knocks him down. Then it shows a close-up of Godzilla, and I think a nearby explosion illuminates him, and we see his face, and he roars. Finally, after 48 minutes, Godzilla finally appears on the screen. You know what I mean? Ironically, the last monster to appear, because they show Titanosaurus, they show Mechagodzilla, even though he's not active. They show him in a process of being worked on again or being built again. So Godzilla is the last monster to show up, and maybe that played into the fact why this film didn't do so well. Is the fact that they hold all the action to the third act. And I said on many occasions that I actually, between the two films, even though I love this film, I love 74 better because how they splice the monster action throughout the film. Like early on in that film, they give you monster action galore. Godzilla supposedly shows up. He attacks Japan. Anguirus shows up to confront him. Godzilla cripples him, whatever. Then another Godzilla comes in to challenge that version of Godzilla. Then this supposed aggressive Godzilla reveals itself to be Mechagodzilla. Just all this action, all within like maybe the first 10 or 15 minutes. Normally it doesn't happen like that in the Godzilla film. But what I love about Terra Mechagodzilla is the fact that even though they hold all the action towards the third act, the story built up to the monster action is really, really good. And I think how they structured that makes 75 a little bit more superior than 74, even though I prefer 74 just a little bit over 75. Because in 74, after Mechagodzilla and Godzilla fight, and they have that big explosion which knocks Godzilla into the water, and he bleeds, and they think he's dead, and Mechagodzilla malfunctions, it's like a dead space in between that and the monster action, because no other monster action happens until the final fight between Mechagodzilla, King Caesar, and Godzilla, And I kind of prefer 75 better because the way they structured the story, where you see a lot of character development, Titanosaurus is kind of like the focus. The reconstruction of Mechagodzilla is very, 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 very good. I just prefer 75 the way they structured the film. Now, when Godzilla finally shows up, it's just non-stop action after that. He shows up to fight Titanosaurus in a brief battle. Then he pops up again when both Titanosaurus and Mechagodzilla are attacking the city or whatever. And there's also another thing that I praise the 1970s films for. Even though, like I said, they're cheesy. It has truckloads of cheese, don't get me wrong. They have over-reliance of stock footage, Maybe the themes or the music is not as epic as it was in the 60s, But I love how in each film they present... Basically, they have insurmountable odds opposing Godzilla, where you're wondering how is Godzilla going to get over the situation. Whether he fights an invincible pollution monster in Hedra, or going up against Gigan and King Ghidorah, or Megalon and Gigan, or Mechagodzilla, where Mechagodzilla was an awesome doomsday machine by himself. Now in this one, not only does he have to fight Mechagodzilla, the same doomsday machine that he had trouble fighting with in the film prior, now he has backup in Titanosaurus. So in this film, you actually as opposed to the other 70s films, you actually, maybe with the exception of Hedra, that you really get behind Godzilla and you get behind his struggle to take both of these down at the same time, both of these monsters down at the same time. And Godzilla, he goes through a lot, you know, from being kicked like a football over miles by Tyrannosaurus, being buried alive, being set on fire by Mechagodzilla. Godzilla goes through a lot in this film, but it also shows how tough he is. That he keeps on fighting. He keeps on fighting. He always perseveres, kind of like Gamera in his films in a way. But Godzilla's toughness is shown really at the forefront here. And when he's done, when he finally defeats Mechagodzilla and Titanosaurus, it feels like Godzilla earned his victory, despite the tragedy with Katsura. You know, whatever, you really get behind Godzilla, and you know that at the end, when Godzilla goes off into the distance, into the ocean, he earned his victory. And I also like the fact that this film, even though, like I said, it wasn't intended to be the final film of the Showa period, I like how this film has kind of certain ties to the original, whether it's blatant or not. You know, how Godzilla's theme, you know, from the original 54 film, they use that same theme here in this film. It's kind of slowed down, but going by my research about this film, or at least both films, as well as that iconic theme, these two are the only two films that featured that theme. You know, they will bring it back in the Heisei the Millennium, but Godzilla 1954 and Mechagodzilla are the only two films that have that variation of Godzilla's theme, which I love the fact how this film kind of has ties to the 54, even though it may not be what was the plan. You know, both films involve great monster action, great music, great special effects. They bring back Akira Ifukube and Ishiro Honda, who were absent all the way up since, in Ishiro Honda's case, the last film that he did was Godzilla's Revenge, right? The last film that Akira Ifukube scored was Destroyer of Monsters, which that was meant to be the last Godzilla film, but you know. But from like 71 all the way up until like 74, they relied on other filmmakers and other producers to get these films done. But they brought these two back, you know, one of the two original forefathers of Godzilla, you know, that made these films happen to begin with. Tomoyuki Tanaka was a producer. Like I said, Inoshiro Hana was the director. Eiji Tsuburaya was special effects. Unfortunately, he passed away at this point. Akira Ifukube provided the score. And they brought those two back to do this film, and I think it's poetic. You know, I think it comes full circle. Also, the fact that both films involve a tragic hero. 54 had Serizawa, 75 had Katsura, and both of those tragic heroes were involved in a love triangle. Not the same. In 54, Serizawa was involved with the love triangle with Emiko and Ogata. You know, we already know about that story. In 75, Katsura was in a love triangle of sorts where she showed loyalty to the guy that she loves, Ichinose, or to her father, Dr. Mifune. Once again, another tie between these two films. And also another thing, the same guy who played Dr. Serizawa in 54 plays somewhat of a mad scientist type of role, or similar scientist type of role in this film, Dr. Mifune. So there are so many ties between 75 and 54 that it makes me also question whether, like I said, whether it was unbeknownst to them, they were gonna make other Godzilla films. You know, they didn't know this film was gonna be the last Godzilla film. You know, but still, there are certain things in between two films that made me think that maybe they knew, that maybe they figured, you know what, it's time. And I don't know about you, but in that last scene where Godzilla wades off into the ocean and we hear that that music from Akira Ifukube, you know, whatever, Godzilla roars and then he goes off into the distance and we hear that music that closes out. I don't know about you, but when I watch that scene, it's like when I watch that scene, I think about great moments from the Showa period. You know what I mean? Whether it's Godzilla being taken out of Lake Myojin and Monster Zero, or him fighting Mothra in 64, or the original Godzilla film. I just have, like, in that short scene, just certain fragments of certain past Showa movies come into my mind when I hear that music, because I feel this film is a culmination of the Showa series as a whole. You know, where it involves a Godzilla-like creature that attacks humanity, but also involves aliens, great monster balls, great character development, you know, everything that we've come to love about the Showa period. You know, I know some folks may not, But everything we loved about the Showa period is all in this film right here. And I think it's very poetic that this was the last Godzilla film of the Showa period. And I think it couldn't have done a better way. You know, Godzilla just overcomes all odds, and it's the last monster standing, and I don't think we could have it any other way. So yes, great film in Mechagodzilla. Some will argue that's the best of the 70s, and honestly, I can't argue with that. Even though my personal favorite is Guy again from '72, but I can understand how Mechagodzilla can be perceived as the best of the 1970s films, and it's a great way for Godzilla to go out, and a fine entry in the Godzilla series, and probably one of the most important films in the Godzilla series. You know what I mean? So that pretty much concludes my review of the X-Plus 30cm Godzilla 1975 Standard Edition from the classic iconic film that closed out the Godzilla film series, Terror Mechagodzilla. You have any questions, holler me down in the comment section, or hit me up on Facebook on via Mark Calloway. We definitely go from there. Yes, so much to cover. I hope I covered as much as I could in this video. I hope y'all satisfied, you know what I mean? I hope I didn't offend anybody with my Billiken comparison. I'm just giving you my opinion, you know what I mean? We can agree to disagree. Maybe you can pop down in the comment section what you feel is the more superior, X-Plus or Billiken. Either way, they are both great incarnations of the 75. Like I said, hopefully X-Plus will listen to us fans. Hopefully they'll watch this video and know that there is a demand for more 70s Godzilla designs from the 30s. For 30 centimeters, you know what I mean? Hopefully they'll get that out to us. But if you're on the fence about getting this figure, whereas Rick Board standard, please go off the fence. This is a very nice piece. You know, you can't find any other 75 better. Maybe with the Billiken. But until then, this one is out there right now. So if you can, or if you want to, please get your hands on this figure. You'll never be disappointed with the X-Plus 30 centimeter Godzilla 1975, whereas the Rick Board or Standard Edition. All right. So I thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see y'all again on the next figure and move review. All right, y'all take it easy.